Well, tonight's Golden State Warriors victory over the Phoenix Suns was very reminiscent, almost nostalgic to the Warriors of old, the world champion Golden State Warriors. Jack Winter of Clutch Points is going to join me next to break down a solid victory for the Warriors as they're about to embark on a 5-game road trip that could really dictate and decide where this team is going for the rest of the year. We're going to break it all down next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code Locked On. You can follow Jack Winter. He writes covering the Warriors for Clutch Points at Armstrong Winter. And you can follow me on Twitter, Cyrus Saatsaz at Dog Surf Roadshow. Jack, great to see you again. I'm stoked you're back on the program. What was your immediate reaction to the Golden State Warriors just taking care of business? 123-112, the final score. Your first immediate reaction to the game, and how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. Great to be back. Thrilled to be back on the show. What a win for the Dubs, huh? An absolutely dominant first quarter. They were really good in the second quarter as well, up 25 two separate times. But then kind of towards the end of the second quarter, you could kind of feel that, the Dubs letting go of the rope just a little bit. Klay Thompson wasn't so hot. Steph Curry was hot there too for a bit. But then the Dubs just came out in the second half. They weathered the storm. The Suns at one point cut it to 3. I thought Jordan Poole was just awesome in that second half. As Klay and Steph kind of cooled down a little bit, Phoenix really amped up their physicality. They were better navigating switches off the ball. Like you said, just a really, really solid all-around win for the Dubs, kind of weathering that second half storm led by Jordan Poole. But they got some other great contributions from Kevon Looney in the second half. JaMychal Green had his moments. Your guy Moses Moody, I thought was pretty solid, especially defensively tonight. He had some awesome cuts in the first half too, and like 2 or 3 straight possessions got to the rim. Just a really, really solid all-around win for the Warriors. You could tell it's one they really, really wanted against a Suns team that's kind of quickly become a rival after what happened early in the season, and then the Warriors lost to the really shorthanded Suns in early January, and Steph's return. That was a big letdown. The Dubs wanted this game. They came out really hot, and then once again, when the Suns kind of roared back a little bit after halftime, beginning in that late second quarter, the Dubs weathered the storm, and another big home win, like you said, before going on that 5-game road trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Even before the game started, I was feeling good about this game. For starters, no pun intended, the actual starters in this game were a group of 5 that I wholeheartedly endorse. It was a starting 5 that featured Draymond Green, Looney, Steph, Klay, who had a ridiculous first half. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And then with Andrew Wiggins still out, he's missed, I believe, now his 12th. He missed his 12th game tonight. I believe it's either 12 or 13. I think it's 12. Dante DiVincenzo started in his place. And that 5 individual unit, their net rating entering tonight's game was 24.2, meaning for every 100 possessions, they outscore the opponents by 24.2 points. Awesome 5-man unit. I was really stoked that Kerr went with that. The fact that it was just like a game or two ago that he was like being, quote unquote cute with the starting lineup, going with that 4-guard lineup a couple games ago, which just really was just mind boggling. I did not understand that. So he went with the tried and true. It worked. And then the other thing, a piece of news that I think went under the radar because Kerr, it wasn't touched on until Kerr's press conference before the game started. Kerr was asked about Lester Quinones because his 10-day deal expired, and Kerr revealed that the team did not give him another 10-day deal, which meant that the roster went back down to 14 players, not 15, which reenacted a rule which I don't think any of us knew about until about a week and a half ago when Quinones was signed to that 10-day deal. The rule states that if you have less than 15 players on your roster, your two-way players can play combined a maximum of 90 games, not 100. And as a result, because Quinones was not signed to that 10-day deal, essentially the credit card was taken away from Steve Kerr. The two-way credit card, Bob Myers said, and Joe Lacob were like, look, Steve, we're going to take this away from you. The keys, the credit card, whatever you want to use for your analogy, the two-way guys are done. This was honestly my first cringe-free game of the season. I have been going insane watching these two-way players play for the Warriors. To me, they have been an absolute detriment to this team. And to me, a huge reason why the Warriors held on in that third quarter, because the Suns made a huge rally. The Warriors went into the half. I think they were up 17 points. Klay Thompson had 33. He had 8 made threes. They were smoking. The Warriors looked like the game was in control. Third quarter comes around. The lead whittles down to 4. And I feel like that's one of those moments where Kerr would have been Anthony Lamb, get in there. Ty Jerome, get in there. Neither of those two players played good defense. Offensively, they're okay, depending on the night. He did not have his crutch. And so we saw Moses Moody play extended minutes. We saw JaMychal Green play extended minutes. We saw Jordan Poole play with what felt to me like less pressure. I don't know why. I don't know why the two-way guys would give him pressure. That's just what I saw from my observation skills. Point is, the Warriors weathered that storm, and they took care of business. This, to me, looked like a world championship team tonight. World championship teams, in my humble opinion, Jack, do not employ two-way players out on the court for extended minutes. It did not go over my head, by the way, that James Wiseman had another solid game tonight for the Detroit Pistons, which we can touch on in just a minute. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think it was 16 points, 13 rebounds or 14 rebounds. He was a +9, I think, in the plus minus. The Pistons won that game. So none of this looks good in terms of the two-way guys getting all those minutes this whole season. So kudos to Bob Myers and or Joe Lacob, whoever made that decision to basically take those two-way players away from Steve Kerr. And this is the result, is that you don't need them. They're unnecessary players for this roster. I was stoked. Your reaction to everything I just said, and what was your thoughts about the Warriors not having their two-way players tonight?
Well, first of all, I think it's interesting you're framing it as Bob Myers or Joe Lacob kind of taking the clubs out of the bag. I'm not a golf person. I don't know why I made that analogy.
That's all right.
For Steve Kerr, when I actually think it probably has more to do with them wanting to save Joe Lacob some money because the Warriors are so far into the luxury tax. So if they signed Anthony Lamb to that 15th roster spot, it's prorated, right? So the later you do it, the lesser tax hit there is. But regardless of that, it's an especially impressive win to me that the Warriors got this win, despite the fact that they didn't have Anthony Lamb specifically, because they were also missing Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga.
Right.
So I think they really need that wing depth. And like you said, Moses Moody came in and gave them some really good minutes. I thought, not really good. That's maybe a little too much, but I thought he was pretty solid defensively. He did well on Devin Booker in the box and one at times. And there was that stretch in the first half where he got a couple 45 cuts from the left wing, got to the rim. And that's what you want to see from him, right? You want to see him working within the flow of the offense, making quick decisions. And we saw that tonight. I thought that was really encouraging. And then as far as Poole goes, I do think he felt a little more empowered tonight. Maybe because Ty Jerome wasn't out there with him. He knew that he was the primary playmaker in the second half, at least when Steph was off the floor. He could share those responsibilities with Draymond, focus a little bit more on, turning the corner, getting to the rim, creating some opportunities for Kevon Looney to get some offensive rebounds, spraying the ball out to shooters, really getting the ball moving and the Suns scrambling. I actually think it's a more impressive win that they got it, without Anthony Lamb specifically. I think he might have come in handy tonight. I actually thought Andre was pretty good tonight as well.
Hell yeah. Well, again, when you say that Lamb could have been handy tonight, they won the game by 11. Why do you think they didn't need him? And the reason why I'll push back a little bit on the whole, the Lamb thing. Look, they didn't need to give Quinones that 10-day deal in the first place. I think it was evident that the front office was basically obliging Kerr by saying, all right, look, we'll give Quinones this 10-day deal. We'll extend the roster to 15 so that you could have your two-way players for a few more games. And I think they're just done with it. I mean, look, this roster was constructed for those young players to play, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the Warriors front office did this for a reason. It's glossed over a lot that they purged all the veterans from this bench. They thought, the front office, and probably Kerr, because Kerr's involved in these decisions as well, they thought this team could survive with the youngsters. Kuminga's playing awesome. I think we're seeing him grow in front of our eyes. He was out tonight, but he's recovering a lot faster than usual. He actually was listed as questionable on the injury report. And it wasn't until right before the game started that he was ruled out for this game. But clearly they envisioned a bigger role than what we've seen. And again, I'm just still mind blown that they were just playing two-way players. They're two-way players for a reason. Like, why are they playing, man? I don't know. It drives me insane. And I'm clearly in the minority when it comes to the eye test, but every single time I would see either of those guys in that court, I would lose my you-know-what because they don't belong on a championship team. Like when Steve Kerr came out and said James Wiseman is not on this roster anymore because of a lack of experience and he's questioning fit, what kind of experience does Lamb and Jerome have besides maybe extra college years? I don't know, man. I don't know. It drove me insane. I was so happy tonight. This was like, they looked like a team that could compete for world championship tonight. So, and again, we can agree to disagree if you don't agree with me, Jack. I know I'm out there a little bit with this opinion, but
no, I mean, as we discussed last time, I think it's like, why they've been relying so much on Jerome and Lamb. I think it's a positional thing more than anything else. I think they're a little disappointed in Moses Moody, as I am a little bit, just in terms of his development based on expectations coming into the season. I really thought that he'd be competing with Dante DiVincenzo to be, the second guard off the bench, the second guard wing off the bench. And, Dante's just been a lot better than him. And Dante's been really, really good, of course, on both ends. Just been integral to the Warriors kind of staying afloat despite multiple months-long absences for Steph and Wiggins. But yeah, I think that has something to do with it. Moody, a little bit of delayed development, which is fine. He's he played 1 year college ball.
He's 20.
He's 20. Yeah, plenty of time. So maybe just the front office overestimated how much, like whether or not he was going to be ready. I never thought Wiseman would be ready at all. I thought it was the right move to trade him. In terms of Wiseman's experience, he played how many college games? 3 college games, or something like that. Missed the entirety of the second season. His rookie season, was almost not real basketball for the Warriors with Steph out and playing in the lottery, all that. And just when it comes back to Lamb, because I do think he'll get that 15th roster spot here fairly soon. Like we discussed last time, when the Warriors are at full strength, Anthony Lamb is going to probably be the 12th man in the rotation, based on what we saw.
If they keep him, right, Jack? I mean,
yeah. Well, Kerr said recently, I think just in the last few days, even that he would prefer if Lamb got that 15th roster spot.
He did say that, but he's not the decision maker. This is why I'm using the whole metaphor of Myers and Lacob coming in and finally just taking the credit card away. I think because let me ask you this: if Lamb was going to be the 12th player on the roster, right, in terms of the pecking order, your 15th overall player, however you want to label it, why doesn't he have the deal now? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is he not rolling with a 10-day deal right now? Kerr did say in the pregame when he was questioned that they were going to have conversations about it.
Right.
But I could be. Look, I really hope that they don't give him the guarantee deal simply because, like you say, Moses Moody. I don't even know how you can have judgment on Moses Moody right now because, like, in year 2. I feel like Damian Lee was let go for Moses Moody. I feel like that's where like they were going to slide Moody in was 15, 20 minutes, shoot, play in the wing, play some defense, develop your offensive game. But his minutes per game last year was 11.7, and it's only gone up to 13.2. And that's just not a lot.
He's getting some DNP CDs in there too.
A lot of DNPs, yeah.
So it's he's even playing less than 13.2 minutes per game.
So I'm just happy. Like now, basically the front office, from what I'm interpreting, what I'm seeing, the front office basically told Kerr, no, you're going to play these guys. Like we're done with you, like messing around with these two-way players. I hope that sticks. We'll see what happens with that. But again, the Warriors won tonight. There's a lot to cover. Klay had a huge game. I thought that Jordan Poole had a fantastic game. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff when we come back. After I give some love here to PrizePicks. And man, I was so bummed, and I tweeted this right before the game. I missed the deadline to submit my PrizePicks ledger by like 10 seconds. And the reason why I was really bummed is because I felt like a night like tonight would have been perfect to play PrizePicks, simply because the Klay Thompson over-under was a virtual lock. Klay was pissed. He's finally at his peak physical level. I feel like mentally he's in a great place. He's posting career highs in terms of offensive numbers. Defensively, he's starting to show his old form. It seemed obvious between that and the rivalry with Devin Booker that he was going to light it up tonight. I forgot to put my bet in. I also thought Jordan Poole was going to get the under, and that came through as well because it scored 20 points total. And I think his over-under was 24 and a half in PrizePicks. But look, if you have inclinations like that, and if you live in California, PrizePicks is legal. You're just betting on 2 to 6 individual players and their over-unders, right? Like Klay Thompson tonight, if I'd bet the over on his 25 or 25 and a half, I would have scored. If I'd bet the over on Jordan Poole, I would have scored. And it's that simple. And it obviously makes things a lot more interesting when you're playing the game. And the withdrawals are super easy. You don't have to deal with sketchy wire services. Jack, have you ever played PrizePicks? Are you familiar with it?
No, I'm not. But by the way you're describing it, it seems like something I want to do.
You should. We'll get addicted, but yeah, it's fun. It is super fun. Download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users, Jack, this applies to you, can receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 if you use the promo code Locked On. So if you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. And if you only have like $50 on you, $25, whatever you put in, they will match 100% of it. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On and sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Jack Winter. He covers the Golden State Warriors for ClutchPoints at Armstrong Winter on Twitter. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at DogSurfRoadshow. Jordan Poole tonight. Real quickly, before I go to Jordan Poole, I got to mention James Wiseman. His stats in 24 minutes, he shot above 50%, scored 18 points, grabbed 14 rebounds. Was a -1 in the plus-minus, but that doesn't matter if you win. And the Pistons beat the Indiana Pacers by 20 tonight. Man, that's going to blow up in a lot of people's faces if James Wiseman turns into like an all-star or superstar, especially given all they needed from him was 5 to 10 minutes of playing defense and grabbing rebounds and putting down lobs. And apparently that could not happen. So he's gone. He's thriving in Detroit. But a player that did do well tonight for the Warriors was Jordan Poole. Mm-hmm. And I thought he looked good out there. He's been struggling coming off the bench. And he came off the bench tonight. He was a +12 in terms of differential, scored 20 points. He was 4 for 8 from deep. And those were huge threes. Like when it comes to the timing of his threes, I always feel like he's very impeccable there. They lift up the crowd. They energize the team. So again, in 31 minutes, shot 50% from the field, shot 50% from 3, 20 points, 6 assists. Had 3 turnovers, but they won. Your feedback, your reaction to Jordan Poole, and what's your take on him this season as a whole? But let's start with tonight.
Well, as far as those turnovers go, I actually thought 2 of them were on the roller. So the 2 of those came in pick and roll. And the first one, I thought Draymond Green he wasn't looking for the ball. Poole kind of threw a lob over the top as Ayton kind of came out to meet him. And then the second one was kind of the same thing with JaMychal Green. And I think both Dre and JaMychal both said, my bad or whatever. Obviously, it's on the ball handler too. But just a little context there for the 3 turnovers. I thought Jordan was great tonight. And as we've kind of mentioned, especially because he was quiet in the first half, he was playing more of a facilitator role as Klay and Steph were just so hot. But then in the second half, Klay and Steph combined for 13 points only. Jordan Poole scored 16 huge points. And a lot of those came in the kind of in the beginning, in the middle of the fourth quarter. But even in the third, I thought he's really set a nice aggressive tone for the Warriors of getting to the rim, turning the corner, because I even have it in my notes here. Without Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga, you just almost have no means of putting pressure on the rim.
Right.
Unless it's going to be Steph getting all the way to the rim and pick and roll. But they were putting 2 on the ball. So Steph had to give it up. And obviously Draymond Green or Kevon Looney catching in short roll, taking 2 or 3 dribbles and trying to finish is a little different than, Andrew Wiggins turning the corner and pick and roll, or Jonathan Kuminga catching on the short roll and getting to the rim. So I just thought that was huge for the Warriors, that rim pressure that Jordan Poole provided. And then again, like you said, huge threes. They're in the second half. I think it was 3 of 5, 3 of 6 in the second half from 3. And just before I forget another thing, I thought Steve Kerr was great tonight. offensively. Just every after timeout play was just the Warriors knew exactly what they wanted to do.
Yep.
They were, throughout the game, they were trying to get different defenders, weaker defenders switched onto Steph and Klay, and then getting into the primary action. A lot of double drag stuff where Steph and Klay were the second screener. And so then, just made it much more difficult for Phoenix to kind of account for them when they would pop back up to the arc. Just really, really good stuff from Steve Kerr, I thought.
Right.
Jordan Poole was certainly the beneficiary of that, but I think it was mostly Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, which is why Phoenix worked so hard to get the ball in their hands in the second half.
Absolutely. I want to go to the chat real quick, and thank you for bringing up the stats in terms of the halves as well. I love micro stats like that to really tell what players are doing depending on what part of the game they're in. In the chat, Bruce Morrow had a couple comments. First off, Bruce writes that I'm celebrating the Warriors winning, the two-way players not playing. Hell yes. And the reason why is because I want this team. Look, I'm biased. I've admitted that. It's no secret. I want this team to repeat as a world champion. I want Stephen Curry to get that fifth ring just because when it comes to his legacy, man, a fifth ring really puts Steph at such an elite level, man. Like he's possibly on Mount Rushmore if he gets that fifth ring. I want to see that. I'm selfish. I'm biased. I don't care. I'll admit it. And I just don't see those guys leading and helping the Warriors to a repeat championship. But I did just see a very astute chat about the two-way players, which I never saw before. And it's a great point. The Great Guru writes, you guys should understand the mindset of these young guys with guaranteed rookie contracts. Two-way players are playing every game like their last, insinuating that the two-way players are bringing more effort, bringing more hustle, maybe more energy and urgency. Great point. Yeah, you're the first person that's ever said that, at least on the show to me. So yeah, that's a good point. And that would actually be a logical reason for Kerr going to them quite frequently. I would actually understand that. Bruce Morrow also writes, I don't know if this is a compliment. I'm guessing it's a compliment, Jack. Austin Butler played Elvis, right? He was an Oscar-nominated actor. So you're his older brother. Confirm or deny?
Deny. I do have an older brother though. Looks a lot like me. That's so funny though. My partner and I actually watched the Oscars last night, and we were just kind of ripping on Austin Butler the whole time because I hated that movie. I had no idea. Well, I mean, like every Baz Luhrmann movie gets nominated for Oscars. I'll never understand it. Good on him for maintaining that Elvis voice though. long after the production.
Solemn Crying asked a question in the chat. What happens if Dre gets one more technical? If Draymond Green gets his 16th technical, he's going to be suspended for a game. And then it's a really vicious cycle where for every 2 technicals or every other technical, he gets suspended again. He's going to for the rest of the season. This includes the postseason. So he's in really precarious territory here. Would you? Let me ask you this, Jack. Do you think Draymond should get another tech before the season ends, just so that he has that one extra when the postseason starts? Am I making sense?
So does it? Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Does it not restart like your allotment of technicals? Does it not restart in the playoffs?
No, it carries over, man. That's what screwed Draymond over in 2016 and why he got suspended. We lost him for a game in the NBA Finals. Man, it was brutal.
Right. I've been mistaken on that, I guess. But regardless, Draymond could get a technical almost any time. The referees give him so much leeway, and you were seeing that tonight. There would be times where he was screaming in the referee's face. There was one time, I think it was Josh Tiven, who he was kind of yelling at, and Steph was just standing between them, kind of pushing against Draymond's stomach just so he, kind of calmed down a little bit.
Saw that, yeah.
But they could obviously Draymond has a much longer leash. And I'm totally fine with that. To be clear, that's a much bigger discussion that maybe we can get into another time.
Yeah,
but some players deserve longer leashes, and I really do like the referees taking into account the fact that they know Draymond has 15 technical fouls. They don't want him to get suspended. They could have called one on him tonight, and I will not be shocked when he gets his 16 technical foul over the last 12 or 13 games of the season, however many there are. I almost think it's inevitable at this point, unless the refs just kind of collectively decide to swallow their whistles. Because as we've seen these last couple games, maybe Draymond's toned it down just a little bit, but he's still very, very active and animated with the officials.
Yeah, and by the way, some people in the chat are questioning what I just said. Like Joe and a few others are writing that the playoff resets the technicals. But then how does that work then? So Maybe I'm mistaken then. I don't know. We'll have to look into that. I could have swore that they carry over, and that's what makes the situation so particularly precarious for a player like Draymond Green. So are you saying, Jack, if you're right and I'm wrong, which is very possible, are you saying then that the reset, but then like the number of texts that gets you suspended is lowered?
Is lower. Yeah, and I can't remember what it is, and I think like the reason why Draymond got suspended in 2016, as I recall, is because it was I believe it's maybe you combine technicals and flagrant foul points. I think that's what
I got to look into that. Okay, I'll next show I'll have that answer because
yeah. But it is my understanding that it does reset, and it's obviously a much smaller number than 16 because
it has to be. It has to be exactly
maximum 28 games around.
Yeah. So if anyone in the chat knows how many games it takes to get you suspended, let me know because Dre reached that limit. I guess I was under the impression the whole time that Dre reached that limit in 2016 because those texts carried over from the regular season. But dude, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Cool Breeze writes 2 texts in playoffs. Oh, it only takes 2? And then Koji writes 7. Dennis B, you're not right. It's not 18. Okay. Anyways, we'll be back with a lot more. And I want to finish up this with the chat. Dennis B, I think a valid comment about Jordan Poole saying that Jordan Poole was passed first tonight. I agree. I did see that. His assist numbers are up this year in addition to his scoring. Yeah, I saw that too. He just had a complete game. When we come back, though, I also want to really quickly touch on Klay Thompson. I mean, he was lighting it up. This little feud he has with Devin Booker is entertaining basketball. So we'll talk about that and the road trip. This is coming up. Even though like a game like tonight makes you feel damn good, they still have not overcome those road woes. And they got a 5-game slate coming that could really tell a lot. First, though, got to give some love to Built Bar, longtime sponsor of this program. These yummy treats that are helping me lose weight, and they can help you lose weight too if you want. And the premise is simple. They're protein bars that taste incredibly good because they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Yet despite the fact that they're covered in 100% real chocolate, I do repeat that because it's that damn good. And if you love chocolate like me, it's a massive sticking point. But they also have some incredible flavors. They got like churro. My favorite is the granola. Like they have these granola ones that are not quite as chewy. They got granola bits in it. I think it's a chocolate chip flavor. And right now they got a March Madness promo going on. If you go to builtmarchmadness.com, you could vote for your favorite flavors. And that flavor will correlate with a certain team. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you're going to be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. And the website, again, is builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. And again, 50 Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. One Locked On fan is going to get a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly right to your door. They're amazing. They're yummy. And now you can win a contest and get them for free. Go to builtmarchmadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop in and support your pick.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Jack Winter is free and available on Twitter. You can follow him there at Armstrong Winter. Klay Thompson tonight was magnificent. And it still eats my craw. That first game that the Suns and Warriors played when Devin Booker had his number, Klay Thompson was pissed off. I think he got ejected from that game if I'm not mistaken. So for Klay to come out tonight, have that ridiculous first half where he made 8 3-pointers, scored 33 points, had a much cooler second half, finished the game with 38 points on the night, went 8 for 14 from 3. Your reaction to Klay, man? What are you seeing from Klay? Let's add on to that as well. Like in your eyes, Jack, do you see the old Klay? Because statistically, he's setting personal marks in terms of scoring, even efficiency. A lot of people criticize his defense. I don't think it's bad as some people are making it out to be. What's your impression of Klay as we're a month away from the playoffs? And you can talk about tonight as well.
I think offensively, he's as good as he's ever been. right? I mean, what's the argument to say he's not? He's shooting the ball as well as he ever have. He's getting more threes up than ever. I'd say he's being a little more judicious with his shot selection over the last 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Probably than he has been throughout his career. Certainly early in the season when he really, really struggled. He took just 5 shots in the second half tonight, Si. Like there was a time when Klay might have come out like really, really firing after dropping 33 in the first half and trying to shoot himself through some struggles. And that just didn't happen tonight. Instead, he like we talked last time, last week or whenever that was. He just let the game come to him, despite the fact that he wasn't hitting shots, he wasn't forcing anything up. And I just thought he was great tonight. Obviously the 33 points, 12 of 18 from the field, 8 of 12 in the first half is unbelievable. One of the best shooting displays you'll ever see. And, he really did it from all over the floor. He hit some, flying off screens. He hit some off the dribble. He hit a really tough 2 over Josh Okogie and ISO on the block. He was just great tonight. As far as defensively goes, I think that's where you've seen the biggest drop off from Klay. But that's not to say that he's suddenly a negative defender or anything. Like, ideally, do you want him on Devin Booker should the Suns and the full strength Suns and Warriors meet in the playoffs? I'd say absolutely not, probably. But he might get that assignment though, because we all know who didn't play tonight. Just like who didn't play for the Bucks on Saturday. We just got to keep that in mind. Arguably the 2 best players in the world. So Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga would probably get that Kevin Durant assignment. Draymond Green would see some time there, and that might leave Klay Thompson defending Devin Booker, and at least sometimes. And we saw that he can somewhat hold his own there at times. Devin Booker was just unbelievable tonight. I thought my God! I mean, by far the best player on the floor in the second half. I thought there was just nothing. The Warriors didn't have anything for him. He almost single-handedly brought them back. Specifically that. He had kind of a transition steal where he ripped Dante DiVincenzo's dribble on a spin and then took on Draymond Green one-on-one, filthy in and out floater from 8 feet. I got out of my chair.
Booker's amazing, man. He's just a phenomenal player, period.
Yeah. But Klay matched him tonight at the very least. Obviously Klay dominated that first half. Book got the second half. But I thought Klay was just awesome tonight. And as far as kind of how he stands up to pre-injury Klay, he's not that player anymore because part of his immense value pre-injury was everything he brought defensively. He was a borderline all-league defender, could switch 1 through 4. He was guarding point guards. He's not doing that anymore. Steve Kerr's even said at some point this season that in the past that he looked at Klay as more of a 2-3 who could defend ones, and now Steve looks at Klay as more of a 3-4 who defends 2s, 3s, and bigger wings. And so I think we've seen that, and that's totally fine. And that's something that would have happened to Klay regardless of the injuries, right? Just because he's older, like you and I are. He's 33 or whatever he is. So yeah, I've just been thrilled with Klay, and to the extent that the Warriors, championship hopes exist. I think they exist in large part because Klay Thompson has, reached a borderline all-star level. And that's certainly a level he didn't reach last year, but for the last 6 weeks or so, he's been playing at that level. And it's one of the reasons why, as I said, there's still some hope for the Warriors, despite ongoing road struggles, ongoing defensive struggles. And then, let's hope and get Andrew Wiggins back here soon.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up Wiggins because while it's true that the Warriors 2 home games that they won, they beat the Bucks, who didn't have Giannis. They beat the Suns tonight, who didn't have Durant. The Warriors were missing not only Andrew Wiggins, who many will argue is their second best player, which I know insults Klay a little bit, but that's a fun argument to have.
Well, it's Dre too.
And who? What?
Yeah, I said it insults Draymond as well.
Yeah. Well, Dre's just such an anomaly, man. I don't even know if you can.
I know. Yeah,
he's so weird. He's just so weird. I love Dre. They're not winning anything without him. It's just so bizarre throwing him into any argument, though. But you're right. In theory, he could also have something to say about that. But the Warriors were missing Andrew Wiggins again. 12th game now that he's been out. I've said this on a couple of other shows. I have heard, and don't take this as like something that is fact, but I did hear this from a source that I trust. That Wiggins' issue doesn't involve him. Whatever the problem is that's keeping him out, it has to do with someone who he knows. So whether or not that makes you feel better about the situation or not, whatever it is, I just hope that Wiggins and or this family member, friend, whatever is going on here, I hope that person and Wiggins is okay and his family's okay. But he missed, again, 12 games now he's missed. And if he was there, it'd be obviously a very different story because he's pretty much like their power forward in a lot of lineups. But they're also missing, besides Andrew Wiggins. They're missing Jonathan Kuminga, who's emerged as a fantastic defender, and they were missing Gary Payton II. And the reason why I bring that up is because we got a new injury report today regarding Gary Payton II. He's got to be reevaluated in 10 days. The Warriors have said he's making good progress. Everything just seems to be lining up right now. This is Warriors way, man. We've suffered. If you're a member of Dub Nation, it's been a lot of suffering this year, but it seems to be coming together at the perfect time. Your thoughts about that, man? Like when you have those three players in the mix, you're right. The Suns are going to have Durant back. The Bucks are going to have Giannis back, but the Warriors are missing three, probably the three best defenders. Right. How do the Warriors stack up in that case? What do you think? And I saw you shake your head with the three best defenders thing, but enlighten me. Yeah.
Well, just don't count Draymond, because obviously.
No, my bad. That's my fault. You're right. Right. You're absolutely right. After Draymond, correct. Yes.
I just really don't want us to lose just how important Andrew Wiggins is to this team. I took some notes on. I was coming on the show. Obviously, I took some notes before the game on this. With Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins on the floor this season, the Warriors have a 109.5 defensive rating. That's better than the Bucks' league leading mark. And when Kevon Looney is off the floor, so to say the Warriors are going small in those minutes, mostly with say Dante DiVincenzo next to Klay and Steph, or maybe it's Kuminga, it's 111.8 defense, 111.8 defensive rating, and that would be the fourth best in the league. So Andrew Wiggins is just so important to what the Warriors do on both sides of the ball, and I really think they've missed him on both sides too, and it just can't be discounted when you're talking about the Warriors' struggles all year and kind of where they stand in the championship picture. And then the same goes for Kuminga. I listened to your show a couple days ago, and you and Kylan were kind of bashing the rotations against Memphis, which I totally get. I thought it was ridiculous for Steve Kerr to start small against Memphis, despite the fact they were missing Steven Adams and Brandon Clark. Guess what? They dominated on the inside, just like they always do, no matter who's available for the Grizzlies. But you just kind of glossed over the fact that the Warriors were without Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins, let alone Gary Payton II. So when those guys come back, they're just going to be a much, much, much different team. And we saw that last year, right? The Warriors had so much quality, proven wing depth. They had Wiggins, they had Gary Payton II, they had Otto Porter. The finals kind of changed after game one once Gary Payton came back from that Dylan Brooks inflicted injury. Steve Kerr talked about that because then the Warriors suddenly had another really, really dynamic defender to guard Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and kind of create havoc on defensively so the Warriors could get out in transition. So, those guys are just so important to what the Warriors do. No team in the NBA, or certainly the Warriors as currently constructed, without those guys, they aren't a real contender. You won't convince me otherwise. I don't mean you, Cyrus. I just mean the royal you.
Oh, I got it.
So yeah, they need those guys back, specifically Wiggins and Kuminga. At this point, I almost think anything you get from GP2 is just a bonus at this point. Just because we just have no idea what his status is. I'm not saying that I don't think he's going to come back. I think he will come back eventually. But even so, it's been so long since he played. He was with another team. It would just be gravy whatever the Warriors get from GP2.
Hell yeah, man.
But as long as they get Wiggs and Kuminga back, at this point, if they can somehow show some life on the road, who are you picking in this strange, odd, ridiculous West right now over the Warriors in a 7-game series? Again, assuming they show some life on the road before the regular season ends and Andrew Wiggins comes back. I've heard a lot of prominent media people say that I don't know who I'm picking over the Warriors in that scenario, and at this point, I suppose I feel the same way. So I can only imagine how Dub Nation feels. They're a little more partisan than I am.
Oh my God, myself included, man. I'm so ecstatic to see those three back. I'm feeling good. Tonight was a feel good game for sure. But look, the Warriors are back on the road, and that's been their kryptonite this year. We'll end the show on this note. The next 5 games, and the road trip starts on Wednesday at LA. So they don't have to go far to start things off. But they play the Clippers Wednesday. They play the Hawks Friday. Then they go to Memphis again on Saturday. We have no idea if John Morant's going to be available. Probably not, given the news that he went into some sort of, I don't know what you call it, a counseling center?
Yeah, they framed it as counseling. They didn't mention rehab or therapy, just counseling. So
I don't anticipate him coming back by Saturday. He might, but I don't anticipate that. So the Warriors, I think, will have a shot. And that's the last back-to-back of the season. Will be Friday and Saturday. And then a week from today, it's game 4 of the road trip at Houston. They better win that game. And then the road trip finishes up at Dallas. What do you see happening when the Warriors come back home a week from Friday to play the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that always plays the Warriors tough?
Yeah.
What do you envision the Warriors' 5-game record will be from that road trip? What are you seeing?
I mean, they got to get 2 wins, right? At the very least. Obviously, they must beat Houston. Houston beat the Celtics tonight.
Really?
So, yeah. I'm great. Granted, Celtics were on the road, but Jabari Smith's light seems to have come on for him. But regardless, again, the Warriors should beat the Rockets. The Hawks are, who knows what's going on with Atlanta right now. They're obviously still kind of getting used to Quinn Snyder. They've underachieved all year. We know the Warriors will be up for a game against the Clippers. They'll be up for a game against Memphis, of course. And then Dallas is actually pretty interesting. There's a chance Luka Doncic doesn't play in that game. He's been out for the last 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, right.
So we don't know for sure that he'll be available. I imagine Kyrie will, but obviously, I want everyone to be healthy. But obviously, just for the Warriors, kind of for how they're feeling on the road, for the momentum on the road, it would be pretty big if Luka Doncic was not available for that final road game. So as far as the prediction goes, I suppose I'll be, let's say 3-2, that's optimistic at this point for the Warriors, right? A winning record on the road. They've lost.
It is
7 in a row on the road now. 8. They're I think the third worst road team, and the other 2 teams who have worse road records than them are tanking. If that's not right, it's just one or two spots off. But so let's hope for a 3-2 Warriors road trip, so they can again finally feel good about themselves on the road heading into the postseason. Because as we know, they're going to have to win some games on the road, to get where they want to go, to get that 5th title, to become the first core group since the Showtime Lakers to win 5 rings. And that's what really sticks out for me. You mentioned Steph getting his 5th ring on Mount Rushmore, but man, just Steph, Dre, Klay, and then plus Andre.
And I know Iguodala too, which by the way played great. I thought this was Steph's 5th game back, and I think this was also Iguodala's 5th game back. But unlike Steph, who rarely if ever shows rust, I mean that's just how amazing of a player he is. You never see rust from him. It's incredible. Iguodala, I saw rust, and this was the first game from my eye test. From my observation, this was the first game where I saw Iguodala actually look good. He was making an impact. He even had that dunk. I don't like him doing dunks anymore because I feel like he gets hurt every time he has a dunk. So, Andre, you don't have to do that stuff, man. You're 39 years old.
Oh, my neck, my back, my neck and my back. Oh.
Yeah, we don't want to see that anymore. So we want Andre Iguodala, man. If he plays like that, he's useful. The Warriors could use him. And happy birthday to Stephen Curry. Tomorrow, he turns 35 years old. So happy birthday to Steph, who had a solid game tonight as well. Just real quick, his stats on the night. Steph in 33 minutes scored 23 points, 7 rebounds. I don't like him. I saw him looking like he was the team center tonight for a few plays. That makes me nervous now because I feel like he's getting all these old man injuries. He gets injured too easily. But nonetheless, he was marvelous again. 4 for 6 from beyond the arc. So there we go. And JaMychal Green, I thought, played a great game. I mean, we saw the players tonight. I think JaMychal will be a rotation player in the postseason. He's starting to play better too. I don't know if you feel the same way, but yeah, he's looking good. So happy birthday, Stephen Curry. Jack, I cannot thank you enough for coming on with me. Let's definitely make this a regular thing if you're down for that.
Yes, sir.
Even if you are way too handsome and you're making me look ugly, it's okay. I'll suck it up. I know I got a face for radio, and you apparently have a face for I don't know what, but people love you. People love each other.
Elvis movies, apparently. Bad movies.
Someone said you were Austin Butler's older brother. That's a damn funny compliment, man.
That is funny. I'll be telling that to my family. We'll all be having a big laugh.
And you can follow Jack Winter again on Twitter at Armstrong Winter. You can follow this program on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. Thank you, everyone. The Warriors, again, that was a feel-good win. They're still in 6th in the standings, I believe. Actually, I'm going to look at the standings. Is that what they still are? I don't think they could have moved up.
They entered the game in 6th.
Oh, they're 5th. No, they're tied for 5th. Wow. So they're tied for 5th with the LA Clippers, and which makes Wednesday's game that much bigger because the Warriors will be in LA. And I'm guessing the winner of that, although who knows what happens with the other teams, but the winner of that will likely be alone in the 5th seed. And the Warriors are a game and a half behind the Suns for the 4th seed. So still a lot going on, still a lot to determine. Just a wild and crazy season, but good stuff. And Kylan Mills will be back with me tomorrow. Time to be determined. Again, follow the program on Twitter. It's where we announce the times for our shows. At Locked On Dubs. Anything we've forgotten, Jack, before we go? Anything you want to mention?
I don't think so. I think we've mentioned every player. Just what an all-around great team win it was after Steph and Klay kind of got the Warriors off on a really hot start. I think we're all good here heading into this final stretch.
Love it, man. All right. Well, folks, Jack Winter will be back with me again soon. Until then, Jack, thank you so much, brother. And Kylan Mills will be back with me tomorrow. Otherwise, that's it. Have a great night, everyone. Go Warriors. That was one hell of a win. Thank you. Bye.